Well, welcome back, Kyle Shimoda.
Hello.
I saw you on the intro, so you are a repeat guest of ours for our Friday Live. But for our viewers who have not, seen Kyle on our different channels or heard him on the radio, I'm gonna do a little intro. So Kyle was born and raised on the island of Kauai and moved to Oahu in 1999. He attended the University of Hawaii and Kapiolani Community College to study marketing, finance, and culinary arts, which we will get into. I think that's a unique. You have a very unique story of how you come to this whole DST thing. So he did become a full-time financial specialist in 2005 and is currently a wealth advisor at INPAC Wealth Solutions. Please welcome back our guest, Kyle Shimoda.
Great to be here.
Yeah, so we are always excited to talk to you about the different strategies in wealth building and just to share. Right, we're streaming on multiple platforms. I'm not really sure who's watching, or maybe they're going to watch later. But we're here on a happy Aloha Friday, and
Yes.
We're excited to talk about DSTs.
All right. Not culinary arts today, right?
No, although maybe towards the end we will get into some of your culinary stories, because I know you are quite the foodie and are passionate about food. Maybe like you're just as passionate about food as you are about building wealth.
Maybe. I think what it is, I love to make people happy, and I like to see a smile on people's face. And I can that definitely happens when I cook for people. Yet also when I help them come up with a strategy or help them with their financial plan, right? That's ultimate joy is helping someone have peace of mind with their finances. So I think ultimately that's what I love to do. So whether it's through food or finance, yeah, the outcome is the same for me.
That's awesome. So let's get right into it, since you are a repeat guest. So you got into the financial planning and wealth building world back in 2005, and quickly became very familiar with this thing called a DST, which I had never heard of until I had met your wife at a personal development seminar. So thank you to Lori. Now we're all connected. Let's talk a little bit about what is a DST.
Yeah, DST stands for a Delaware Statutory Trust. And, it's not surprising that you have never heard of it and you've been in real estate for a while. And in fact, when I first heard about Delaware Statutory Trust, or DST, I had been in financial services for, at that time, like 12, 13 years, right? And it's something that's been around since 2004, right? So what a DST allows for is fractional ownership in high quality institutional commercial property, right? So if there was an IRS ruling that passed in 2004. So if anyone wants to look this up, IRC 2004-86, which permits this, and it qualifies as a like kind replacement property in a 1031 exchange, which is huge. So
let's quickly touch on to that strategy. So you're an investor, you own investment property, you're getting ready to, you're just tired of the investment and you want to swap it out. Like, how does this 1031 exchange work together with the DST?
So yeah, so you mentioned investment property. So when you're doing 1031 exchanges, that refers to investment property. And to take a step back, let's talk about just investments and real estate in general. The reason why we buy primary residence is so we can have a roof over our head and feel like we're building wealth as we're paying for that roof overhead versus renting. And then the next level from that is investing in real estate and then renting out a residential property or apartment or even a commercial property, building land, right? And we build wealth by other people potentially paying our mortgage and our expenses for us in the form of a rent or a lease. And there's a lot of benefits to doing that, right? Tax benefits like depreciation, right? Tax deferral. And the problem is with any type of investment, though, is a lot of times there's taxes on the gains. So when we make money, the IRS, we have to pay our taxes to be a citizen of the United States. And real estate is one of the best ways to build wealth because of all the tax benefits of the deferral of the capital gains. Now, with investment property, if you hold one property, you buy a property, you hold it for 40 years, some of the issues is that it starts getting really old and run down, and it starts to cost a lot of money to upkeep, right? And so a lot of people might...
Isn't there also, like you mentioned, you said 40 years. So isn't there like some kind of a limit as far as how long you can depreciate a residential asset and then depreciate a commercial asset? Like what are those years?
27 and a half years for residential, and I believe it's 39 for commercial, right? And so what happens is when you first buy a property, you can depreciate the property and the land value. Most of it is attached to the property value. So the interesting thing is in Hawaii, majority of the value is in the land, not necessarily the building, right? So we can depreciate quite a bit in Hawaii property, investment property. Yeah, we can depreciate way more if it's maybe on the mainland, an investment property on the mainland, because more of the value is in the structure versus the land. So anyways, that's 27 and a half years that you can depreciate, and that reduces the taxes you'd have to pay on that income or on that gain. And so what happens is when you hold a property for a really, really long time, that depreciation goes away. So even though you're making maybe even the same amount of income on the property, you might end up paying more in taxes. So then it makes kind of sense to potentially do a 1031 exchange, and I'll explain what that is in a second, buy a new property, because then you get to restart that depreciation schedule all over again, and thereby reducing the taxes you might have to pay. So now I'll talk about the 1031 exchange. That's also in the IRS code, which allows an investor to sell a property, we'll call that the relinquished property, and then find a replacement property that's like kind. So like kind means that it's going to be held for investment purposes. So you sell an investment property, replace with another investment property. A lot of people think, well, okay, if I have to replace like kind, that means I have to, if I sell an apartment, I have to replace with an apartment, right? That's like kind. The reality is you can sell an apartment and replace it with anything that's for investment purposes. So it could be
income producing to income producing.
Yeah. So it could be a single family home. It could be a piece of raw land or air rights, or it could be commercial, right? So you can go from something small to something big, or something big to a couple small ones. So as long as it's held for investment purposes and you're not going to live there.
So you don't have to just like swap one property for another. You could have, okay, I'm going to pick 2 or 3 types of properties that I'm interested in because I've had such a great gain after my 30 or 40 years of holding this one property. And so one of those strategies, though, could be a DST as part of like the diversification strategy. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So here's the thing with the 1031 exchange is the IRS says as long as you replace equal or greater value, you get to transfer, right, or roll over your cost basis and defer your capital gains until you eventually sell and cash out.
Or what happens when you die?
Or under current law, you can basically pass away and get a step up in cost basis. So then your beneficiaries potentially don't have to pay any taxes at all.
So you guys like to call that swap until you drop.
Or, defer until you die, or flip it until you kick it. I think there's all types of terms for that now.
I love this strategy. Hopefully they don't make any changes to it. I think that it's, you just keep building, and you're generating the passive income, which, supports your living, and then you're able to leave a legacy for, whoever your heirs are.
Yeah. One of the best ways to build wealth and transfer wealth is through real estate. And so that 1031 rule, the 1031 exchange rule, allows for this huge benefit to carry on. And for us to, for an investor to find potentially better quality property. So, like you mentioned, maybe looking at something like a DST, which could fit in the strategy, because like I mentioned, in order to satisfy the rule, you have to replace equal or greater value. So let's say you sell a $500,000 apartment. That means your replacement property or properties, right? You could have more than one. The total of the replacement has to be 500,000 or more. So you could find one other property for 500,000, or you could buy two properties for 250,000 each or more. So as long as it's equal or greater value.
Now, I know the nice thing about the DST is that maybe you find two condos that are each at 200,000, and you're like, dang it, I've got this extra 100,000. I'm gonna have to pay taxes on it unless I can find something else. So
Correct.
in that example, how would a DST be beneficial in that strategy?
Because if you did that and you had 100,000 left over, I mean, what are you going to find anywhere, right? Especially in Hawaii for 100,000. Maybe even the mainland you could find something, yet not as likely. And so a DST, the minimum investment is 100,000, and again, you become a fractional owner alongside other investors in maybe a building or a couple of buildings worth 200 million or more. So your 100,000 might purchase you, a 0.00, 5% ownership alongside other investors, and then you get a proportionate revenue based on your investment.
And that's kind of like exactly what I did, because I think my investment, what I was able to bring in was was a little bit over $100,000, because I had a HELOC on my condo. And I mean, the HELOC, it was extremely low interest rate, but it was still there, and then the maintenance fees and property management fees. And then, oh my gosh, the property taxes for a non-resident owner investor in Florida were like through the roof.
Do you remember what your net income was?
It ended up being less. It was less than what I'm getting on the DST. And plus I had all of these, worries about, is the tenant happy? Do I need to do some remodeling? When it goes vacant, just repairing blinds, appliances, all sorts of stuff.
We call them the terrible T's.
Yeah. And I'm here in Hawaii, like this property's in Florida. Thankfully, my mom was there, and she's, a broker and was managing it. And I felt like it was in good hands. But being able to do the 1031 into the DST and not have to hear any kind of, calls about, now you got to spend money on this and spend money on that. It's just, the money just shows up in my account. And they've raised the rents at my storage facility that spans across 4 states. I don't even know what states they're in, but it spans across 4 states. And they're like, we're raising the rent. So I got a big bump in my monthly income. So that was quite nice. I was not expecting it.
Yeah, the DST that you got in it's very unique in the sense, so the types of properties that go into a DST might be self-storage, portfolio, right? So you've got, I believe it's 7 storage units across 4 states, right? So you've got, diversification in the sense that you own self-storage and you're there in 4 different states. So that, the possibility of all those units, right? There's thousands of units going vacant at the same time is near impossible. Or if there's a natural disaster that wipes out one, it may affect the income slightly, yet not in a huge margin versus that one property in Florida with that one tenant, right?
Exactly. And know about Florida, there's like a lot of hurricanes there.
Oh yeah, it's like Hawaii, where I'm from.
Yeah.
This is a magnet.
And I was fortunate that because my condo was like 1 block from the beach, and I was always worried at hurricane season. My mom would warn me like, we've got to prepare. Your stepdad's going over there to put some wood across some plywood across the windows to protect it. So it's like all these things, like you said, natural disasters.
Yeah, they happen.
Yep.
Hard to plan for. Yeah, and another nice thing about like a self-storage, right? And there's other things like there's medical, there's warehouse, there's grocery. What's nice about self-storage when you think about that type of investment in general, I mean, think of maybe if you ever own the self-storage, right? You rent this space, and it might be $50, $100 a month, right? So if they raise your rent $5, it doesn't feel like much, right? Yet as a percentage, that could be anywhere from 5 to 10%, depending on what you're paying, right? So it's gone up to what for you feels like a little bit. Yet if you multiply that over thousands of units at 5%, that's a huge increase at one time. So as a landlord or an investor, right, in a project like that, having a 5% increase in your rent could be huge. And think about how long those terms are on a self-storage. The terms usually sign a lease for 3 to 6 months, not 12 months. So it could be an increase in income every 3 to 6 months versus every 12.
So let's talk a little bit about like why wouldn't somebody want to do a DST? It sounds like too good. This sounds too good to be true. Why wouldn't someone want to get involved with this?
It's not for everybody, right? And the first checkpoint on that is only accredited investors can place money inside of a Delaware statutory trust. And for all the accredited investors out there, it's not for all of them either, right? It's for the right person, though. It can be an amazing tool in a portfolio. So an accredited investor, let's talk about that for just a second. So an accredited investor is someone that qualifies either one of two ways. It doesn't have to be both. It's either by net worth or income. So for an individual, $1 million of assets, net worth or more, excluding their primary residence. So we can add up everything, the value of all the investment properties, the IRAs, bank accounts, other portfolios or brokerage accounts, all that has to total 1 million or more.
What if they own a business? Like what if they're so like the value of their business too? That's included in their net worth. Okay.
Yep. So net worth is one way. The second way is by income. So income for an individual, 200,000 or more for at least 2 years, with the expectation that they're going to make it that amount of money this year as well. For a couple, 300,000 or more for 2 years, with the expectation that they'll make it again. So the thing is, a lot of people don't even realize they're accredited until they add up all their accounts. And I'd say probably half the time I talk to people in Hawaii, they're like, I don't think I qualify. And I say, okay, well, I'm a wealth advisor, so tell me a little bit more about what you have. And we add it all up, and sometimes they qualify just on their one investment property, right?
Oh, wow.
It might be worth over $1 million. Yet maybe they have an investment property for, I don't know, 800,000, right? They bought it for 40,000 and now it's worth 800,000. And then they've got a 401k, right? And so it's amazing. People realize that after the fact they're accredited. And
so they've got to be accredited, and then what else? Like why would someone not want to do this DST? Like why have you seen people say, you know what, this isn't for me?
So I would definitely say people that love to manage and roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty, right? And the dirt under their nails, and they love going in and tinkering with things. The full-time real estate investor, definitely not for them. Yet I find when they hear about this, like, this is definitely not for me right now. I love being able to control the expenses. I like to do all my own work. I want to increase my cap rate as much as possible so I don't have to hire people to do it for me. Yet one day when I'm ready to slow down, this is going to be the perfect fit, right?
This is how you get your time back.
Yes.
So when you're ready to get your time back, that's what you do.
Correct. Yeah, because when I talked to one investor, I said, "Well, what's your average cap rate on he had multiple properties?" He said, "Oh, I'm making 8 to 9%." And I said, "Are you doing all the work?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm working 60 to 80 hours a week managing property." That's how you're getting that much return on your investment, is because you're not paying somebody, you're doing all the work, right? So if you had to calculate that in, he's probably only making 2 or 3%.
That's terrible. He should just do a DST and make more money and get his time back.
Yet again, he was one of those guys that said, "You know what, Kyle? Like in maybe like 5 to 10 years, like I'm gonna give you a call and seriously look at this." And one of the key points on what makes a DST favorable to a lot of people is not having to manage property, right? So again, on the flip side, the people that love to manage their property, not a good fit for them. Also, I would say one of the cons of a DST is, unlike a investment property that you might own directly, like a single family home or a building you own directly, you can go and leverage that property, right? Borrow against it, take out the equity. Where when you're a fractional owner alongside other investors in a huge project or property, like in a DST, you're not able to leverage your portion, right? So that might be one drawback. So I see a lot of younger individuals, say someone like in mine and my wife's case, we have young kids, we have multiple investment properties. Sometimes we'll pull equity from properties and maybe to purchase another one, pay for expenses, take care of tuition, and we'll pay it back, or the renters will pay it back. So maybe for someone that's younger that likes to use equity a lot, get access to the equity, maybe not a good fit for them. Yet we find for people that are near or in retirement, could be a huge strategy because they're tired of managing. They're not going to be tapping equity. They just want the income, right? And they don't want the headache.
I love it. All right. Well, we like to keep our little Friday lives to about 20 minutes. And I think we have covered quite a bit on the DST. And I would like to encourage all of our viewers, make sure to come and join us for a webinar. Kyle and his team, as well as our team, we put them on pretty frequently. And if you go to teamlally.com/DST, you can get more information about when the next one is, or even sign up for some time with Kyle. And I'm going to put a banner with Kyle's contact info, so you can call him, text him, email him. I trust him. I, personally did a DST with Kyle and his team, and I just was in complete disbelief. I'm like, this sounds too good to be true, but it is true. It is true, and it's a great strategy. And
I love that you, with all your clients that you work with, you're so knowledgeable about the DST, which I find, again, most realtors I talk to have never heard of it, and the fact that you've done one and you and Attila have spent so much time learning about it is amazing. It's a huge value add to clients.
Yeah, we love sharing solutions, and we can connect and help, make people's lives better by giving them back more time through this strategy. Then I feel like we've done our job, So we're very, very pleased to have learned about this and to be educating. So please come out to one of our webinars or reach out to Kyle directly. And of course, if you have a property to sell, then Attilio and I would be happy to give you a total market overview and talk about what that marketing strategy would look like. Okay. All right, let's wrap it up. William, leave.
Thanks.